It is time for fantasy.
I'll just go on mute for the next 5 minutes.
You're going to have to lower my volume here for it.
I do it in post anyways.
Yes. That is the sound of the victory.
You got like a half second of it before the noise gate just canceled it off.
Whatever.
It's all good.
Okay, we'll try that. But I won a week in fantasy, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my gosh. 12 races in the making. Watkins Glen is finally where I broke through. Thank you, Kyle Larson, for performing. Oh my God. I finally saved the usage and it paid off exponentially. So it's been a long time coming. I don't know how to feel about it all, but it's very much swiftly coming back into realization that I have to try and back it up here this weekend at the Indianapolis road course, a track that we have no real notes to go off of course, when we record this. We aren't even taking advantage of the possibility of having practice for the Cup Series this weekend because we wouldn't. Yeah, exactly. We wouldn't want to give our such a huge advantage or something like that, right? Like that would be really stupid of us. But no, we've been very consistent so far this season. Whenever there's practice, we have recorded prior to it. So
well, not by choice necessarily.
No, not really. But we'll continue this on for the remainder of the season. I believe this is the penultimate practice session of the year in qualifying. Is that correct? Or
yeah, because this is the this is the last new one we have, and then the next one we have is for the finale. So
wow, this is it's an emotional time. It's going to be a long time before we see practice and qualifying for the race weekend. Can't believe they're not doing it for the playoffs, but whatever. It is what it is on that front. But we do have the Indianapolis road course for the first time, as I've said. And as all you know, it's going to be a fun one.
Mention the practice stuff, and now I'm all mad again.
I'm sorry. I'm just as mad as you, man.
But I forgot about it.
I'm sorry. I just realized it in the moment of talking too. I didn't even have it written down. But yes, I go into this as the defending week winner. So we'll try and get our marks back on.
I'll give a quick update. So Lukas got the win, 224 to 204. The Kyle Larson play worked out very, very well. Even though I did get the Kyle Larson win and the extra 15-point bonus, just wasn't good enough for the other picks to make up that deficit for the race winner. The overall now 16-7 myself.
That's
in terms of the head-to-head weeks.
Number.
It's not great. I'm going to be honest. It's not great for you.
That's so bad. Let's not forget, I whooped you last year, like heavily, like 10-3.
I was sandbagging. Don't worry. But the big thing is that the overall points is only a 125 point gap still. I'm up 42.62 to 41.37. So even though I have gone on a really big streak here in terms of winning the weeks, it's been very, very slim point differentials because we have had fairly similar lineups over that time. Yeah. And when I lose in big fashion. And when you win, it's usually pretty handily. And so what were you going to say there?
Yeah. What's your total number for your fantasy right now? I'm just curious. Like what's your actual?
Like 4,262. Okay.
So we don't talk about this at all, but I run about like 4 different fantasy leagues or just like for fun for NASCAR. And I do have the Green Flag podcast one. And would you like to know what that number is at?
Like 5,000 probably.
No, it's only 5 points more than you.
and that's with me not getting like any of like the winner picks that I would have wanted.
No, absolutely not. But I just thought it was funny. I was just curious what it was compared to yours and what this other one is for the actual official Green Flag podcast one on the NASCAR Fantasy app.
On the overall top 25,000 now. Finally, it's not been the like greatest of years for either of us, but we're doing solid. And
compared to last year, this has been shocking for me. This has been shocking for me. I was in the top 1,000 for a large majority of last season. So,
but everything will change and reset once we get to the playoffs, and who knows from there. But
exactly,
if I win 2 more weeks, though, I do clinch at least a tie in the overall weekly head-to-head. So.
You're gonna get that. I mean, I basically have conceded the regular season.
It's more the overall that I'm looking at.
I need to try and beat you heavily in some weeks, and hopefully hopefully that.
Hey, these last three are going to be kind of the one where you can look at, or these next two specifically, because you do have more usages and more versatility to go with. So
hopefully that's the case.
Let's stop delaying here. Let's get into the meat and potatoes for everybody.
Well, you start us off, Mr. Cushman, with the first pick. Lead us off. Let's go.
Chase Elliott. There's not much to say here. In terms of usages, I've got 2 left on him. Yeah, I've got 2 left on Chase here. And it's just, the strategy all season long has been save the usages for the road courses. And this is the last one we have of the regular season here. So feel very, very good about him. Even though last week he had some struggles, he still had an insane car at the end, got all the way back up to second. If he avoids those issues, they have the practice time, they have qualifying as well. If they don't decide to give an illegal car and start at the back. And even if they do, we saw at Road America in the new race where they got up there to the front. Feel very confident about that number 9 Chevrolet. So Chase Elliott is the lead-off guy, as per usual on the road courses for myself.
Yeah, as you said, we've been saving these usages basically the entire season for this just 2-week stretch here. We've had to give ourselves a little bit of insurance and something left in the bank. And
took a lot of restraint, but we got here.
Absolutely. But this hasn't been the Chase Elliott season I think we were expecting by any means either.
It hasn't him to win the dominant one, but he's, I mean, if you told me going into the last road course of the season that Chase Elliott wouldn't have the most points this season on road courses, I'd be very surprised. And he's number 2 behind Kyle Larson there in terms of garnering the most points on road courses this season. And most of that comes because he hasn't got those early stage points in some of these races. You look at Watkins Glen and Road America versus Kyle Larson, who got up to 56 points at Watkins Glen, who got the perfect 60 at Sonoma. That's the big difference there. But still very surprising.
Yeah, and if you had told me that Chase Elliott's only 2 wins this season would be coming on road courses, I think I'd be surprised too, considering how much he kind of showed at the end of last season.
Lucked into with some rain.
Absolutely, so. Yeah. And Larson probably would have caught him if it stayed green there at Coda.
He would have had a pit.
Yeah, it would have been unfortunate there for Elliott that he wouldn't have got that win, but luckily the rain saved him there. Should have won the Daytona road course if it wasn't for a whole bunch of shenanigans there, I guess. But apart from that, it's been, I don't know if I can call it a disappointing season for Chase Elliott. I think that would be the wrong word to use, but maybe underwhelming. From what we saw last season, of course, the defending champion, but you never know. They could be saving some stuff for the playoffs and they could turn it on just like that. It's not like they've been terrible by any means. I mean, they're still in very good shape playoff point wise, and
they're just outside the top 5 in terms of points in the regular season.
They've had some penalties
too. Penalties are the reason why they're not in that top 5. But they haven't been that upper echelon contending for the wins as we would have expected, except for the road courses. And that's where we're going this weekend. It's not the Brickyard. Well, I mean, technically it is the Brickyard, but we're going the opposite direction on it this weekend. So Chase Elliott is the leadoff guy for myself, and I assume for you as well.
Yes, he is. Chase Elliott, I've got 2 usages left on the 9 car.
Yep.
I'm feeling very good about that. Obviously, we'll use him here and most likely next week. And I don't think we'll be saving him for Daytona unless Kyle's got something really tricky up his sleeve. But
I mean, he has been good at Daytona, but
let's be honest. I kind of wish I was coming into this weekend with maybe 1 usage left on Chase Elliott. I'm not 100% sure how I feel about Michigan next weekend. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's more options.
That's fair.
But obviously going to be using him this weekend, and hopefully he can get the job done and have some very, very good points. And with qualifying, you expect him to be up in that top 10 for sure, based off of their pace that they've had so far this season. He's not the greatest one-shot qualifier on 1 lap time, but he's a very consistent guy. And as long as he doesn't start at the back due to tech issues, he should be fine and up in the mix of things at the end of this race. But my second pick, it's a guy that you do not have any usages left.
Really?
Absolutely. I've got 2 usages left on Kyle Busch, so I have to use him here this weekend. If I had the 1, maybe I'd absolutely be considering and using that at Michigan next weekend. But with the 2, I have to use him because of the Loudon misfortune there at New Hampshire. So
you really saved on him. Wow.
Kyle Busch in my lineup this weekend has been superb on the road courses so far this season, apart from the Daytona road course. And I know people are trying to draw some comparables because it's usually an oval to and a road course. It's nothing like the Daytona road course here. This is a proper road course to an extent. And I'm curious to see what the difficulty level is for the Cup Series guys this weekend, because it's not overly it doesn't have too many corners that are too difficult. It's more high speed, approach it with lots of lots of intensity, hard braking zones in some cases. Of course, turn one is going to be the hardest braking zone of them all. But there's a couple of interesting corners, but nothing too difficult where I'd see like the 18 car is going to be absolutely terrible this weekend. I feel really confident in his road course ability. And based off my usage situation, I'm not leaving a Kyle Busch usage on the table. And we know his super speedway luck has been abysmal since 2008 because he hasn't won on a super speedway since 2008. So I think this is a great play for me this week, and I feel confident about him. Indianapolis, if it was the oval, I'd still feel very confident in him coming into this weekend. But on the road course, maybe a little less so. I don't know if he'll be a race winner candidate because I was really confident at Watkins Glen. Didn't quite have their best stuff, it seemed, at Watkins Glen. Was a top 5 car, which is still great, but well off the pace of what the 2 Hendrick cars could do in Larson and Elliott. So it's tough to say where the 18 car will fit in this week. And I think what they did at Watkins Glen and basically every other road course so far this season is within range and manageable for the 18 car. So I'm going to go with Kyle Busch as my second entry into my lineup.
Yeah, he's been very consistent this year in terms of, and again, excluding the first one at the Daytona road course. But since then,
he did get up into the top 5 in that race too after the early issue. Yep. So he's been very good.
Very consistent, not necessarily right there at the top as being like the guy in any of those races, but very solid top 5 contender in each of those races. And I really don't see why that would change this weekend. I don't have any usages left on him. I used them up a few weeks back, Pocono, and then last weekend were the last couple of ones that I used there. Yeah, worked out pretty well for me because I won 12 straight races, but I am going to kind of suffer from that here at the end because you decided to save on him a little bit more. And so you have that versatility here at the end, whereas I
didn't want to play him this weekend, really, but I have no other choice. So
I mean, fair enough. To myself, though, which means that I've got 2 picks here that are unlike yours, which is a little bit different. Usually we started off about the same through like the first 3 to 4, but yeah, with me out of some usages now, we
don't have that issue this weekend, Kyle. We're not going to have 6
I know,
and 6.
We're not going to have the same one. So there we go. I feel decent about that. My number 2 pick, again, going kind of chalk with the road courses and stuff. I got 2 usages left on him here, so I'm using one here, kind of similar to what you had with Kyle Busch and Martin Truex Jr. Showed very, very well at Watkins Glen last time out, which you would expect from Martin Truex Jr. We were a little more apprehensive just given some of the road course form that they've had this season. But if you look at it, the last 3 road courses, all of them inside the top 10. Sonoma, a standout event. Watkins Glen, a standout event. Road America was a fringe top 10. They kind of struggled for most of the day. So I do have a little bit of concern for Truex going into another new road course, but has that practice time, has the qualifying to kind of get more to grips. And so I'm interested to see what that means for Truex this upcoming weekend. But again, with those 2 usages left, I'm not going to be using him at a Daytona or anything like that. So I feel good about him this weekend, at least in the lineup as a road course guy to get you a solid 30 or so points at the very least, if not contending up there for the top 5. And my second pick here for this round is, again, going chalk with the rest of those road course picks so far this season. And Joey Logano was a little bit down at the Watkins Glen, but you got to remember he got torpedoed by Brad Keselowski. And before that, he looked like somebody that could contend for a top 5 or for the win potentially in that race. So Joey Logano, very consistent early on this season, started off the season with 3 straight top 10 performances, very, very strong at the Daytona road course, almost won it at Circuit of the Americas and Sonoma. Road America was a bit of a miss for that team. Watkins Glen was looking good early on, but then they had some of the struggles with the Keselowski incident, but I still feel good about them going into this weekend. The big thing, though, is that I do only have the 1 usage left for Logano here. Looking to Michigan, though, with the 550 package and everything like that, the season for Logano,
good about that.
They've just not been good on the 550 package. So I'm not too heartbroken about that or anything like that. I'm actually more maybe looking at Daytona as being a race to potentially use Joey Logano, but with the uncertainty that is Daytona, I do feel pretty safe about using him at the Indianapolis road course. And there's always the potential of garaging a guy, especially when you've got 1 usage left on him. But just the overall form that Logano's been on road courses, especially this season, I feel pretty safe about playing him, even though I do have that 1 usage left here, just given Michigan and the 550 package and how bad that 22 car has been with that package this season. Yep,
those are some good picks there, Kyle. Interesting. You kind of throw me for a loop already, and it's a bit early for that. Yeah, because I kind of wanted to go a little bit differently this weekend, but I don't know if I want to match you or not, because I have the situation where I can match you on both of these.
Well, how many usages do you have on Logano?
2.
So, okay.
Like,
I find that surprising that throws you for a loop then.
But I know. I'm not going to be using them next week at Michigan. So this is the problem.
That's my thinking. Like Michigan, like normal years, yeah, I'd absolutely be tossing it up. But for myself, Daytona is too much of a wild card, even though Logano is usually at the front getting those kind of guaranteed stage points. But I feel safer about them getting a solid day at Indianapolis than a solid finish at Daytona. So that's the differential for me, because Michigan has been such a non-factor for this team with this package this year.
Yeah, I will match you Martin Truex Jr. for sure, though.
Yeah,
I do have 1 usage left on the 19 car.
Okay.
Yeah.
That one's more interesting to me then.
No, but I do feel like they've been such a hit or miss team on 550 horsepower package tracks this season. Despite his recent kind of good numbers at Michigan, I think there's better options elsewhere that I have with 1 usages left on some other guys that I'm looking at that are more appealing to me than what Martin Truex Jr. could probably bring to me next weekend at Michigan. I feel like this is more of a predictable race to an extent, even though he hasn't been as great as what we maybe thought he was going to be this season on road courses, but he's still been very much a contender, getting good, solid stage points. Won a stage, obviously, last week, had some pretty good strategy. It's encouraging to see that they can, at least get that done at a track he's done very well at in his career. So I will be matching you on Martin Truex Jr. I'm going to wait a little bit on Joey Logano. Okay. Maybe I'll wait till the next round, see what I can feel about him. But the next one, I'm going to be 100% going with Christopher Bell. This guy's been on quite the roll recently, and the speed that he showed at Watkins Glen, up in that top 3 mix there, battling with his teammate and Larson before getting into it with Kyle Larson, getting dumped essentially by Kyle Larson to an extent into turn 1. The two of them haven't really talked since, but I mean, that'll blow over, I'm sure. I think Christopher Bell is on the upward trajectory here this weekend. Obviously, he's done very, very well, finished in the top 7 again last week. It was all Penske all Hendrick and Joe Gibbs cars on the top 7 last weekend. So those two teams are absolutely the king of the road courses this season, and basically has been for quite some time. So I wouldn't expect really anything less when it comes down to it. Maybe this weekend, Watkins Glen, obviously a little bit more predictable. There's more notes to go off of, but this weekend there could be the potential for somebody to spice it up in that top 5 mix. But until that happens, I think Christopher Bell is going to have a very good weekend here, and I feel confident with my usage situation. Obviously, I have 5 usages left. That's not an issue coming down to the stretch things, but Bell's been very impressive for me over the past month or so. Started to pick his momentum up and started to find his groove, and obviously won the Daytona road course earlier this season. So has that win in the bank. And I don't know how many stage points they'll go for necessarily, but I'm hopeful that Bell can get the finish at the end of the day.
Yep, I'm going to go with Christopher Bell as well here. JGR had very, very strong road course package last weekend. That's back-to-back really strong road course results for Christopher Bell, even with him getting dumped at Watkins Glen, of course, finishing 2nd at Road America. So feel pretty good about that trend, the trend that team has been on recently, and kind of ramping back up going towards the playoffs. And Christopher Bell, especially this year, has really kind of proven that road course ability. Last year wasn't necessarily on display with the 95. We saw it at the Xfinity Series level, but he's really come back with a vengeance on the road courses this year. I like the JGR power going to this weekend. Practice, qualifying, feel good about all that stuff this weekend for Christopher Bell. So I've got him in the lineup there, as well as kind of a guy that I don't need to worry about in terms of usages or anything like that, but still provides a lot of value. My second one here, going a little bit differently, a little bit off the map. Got 9 usages left on this guy, so I have used him once this year, but I feel good about him this weekend, and that's Chase Briscoe. He won last time out here on the road course in the Xfinity Series. But for Chase Briscoe has quietly put together a really solid road course campaign this season. top 10 at Circuit of the Americas, top 10 at Road America, and top 10 last time out at Watkins Glen. The practice and qualifying should result in a better starting position than what he's had at like a Watkins Glen or a Sonoma or something where he hasn't had that time just because of where they are in terms of points and stuff like that. But the result at Road America gave me a lot of promise. It's the home race for him. A lot of pressure in terms of needing those good results if they're going to do anything here at the end of the season. But the form that they've been on road courses leads me to believe that they're going to be in a good position for this one. So I'm going to take the swing on Chase Briscoe here in my lineup as the defending, technically, I guess, a road course winner at Indy here in NASCAR.
Wow. I didn't think you were going to go for that this weekend. I gotta say. And
I will say that's been the plan all along. So.
Okay. I do like it. I like
the hometown boy factor. I got the Gordon shirt on. We're going to the Brickyard. Like it's a big factor here.
I do like it. Mr. Cushman. All right.
Your final two picks here.
I know. I am interested to see where you go with your last pick here. If you're saving up for something for this big finale, like you like to do. But,
I don't got many usages left, man.
I know, but with that one usage, I'm looking at like a William Byron or something like that. I feel like that's something you definitely do. But for me, I'm going a little bit similar to what you did with your Chase Briscoe swing. I'm going with another guy that hasn't won a race in the Cup Series, has done very well on the road courses this season. Can you guess who it is?
Is it a full-time guy?
Yep.
Okay. Is it Reddick?
Yes, sir. Tyler Reddick.
Okay. That one scares me.
In my lineup this weekend, he's going stage point hunting.
Yeah.
This is where he needs to make up the points on Austin Dillon when he gets the chance, because he knows that this is an advantage for him when it comes down to driving. This is a huge weekend for Tyler Reddick. This is a make or break weekend for me for his champion or his playoff bid. This is a clear advantage for Reddick compared to Dillon. Michigan, probably pretty even when it comes to RCR equipment on a track like Michigan. I'd probably even give the edge to somebody like Reddick as well on that track. But then when you look at super speedways, automatic advantage to Austin Dillon. Reddick causes the wrecks at the super speedway tracks. So
that's harsh.
No, he does. He took out Kyle Busch last season, so I don't care. For Tyler Reddick, he's my fifth entry this weekend. I feel really good about him. Has done exponentially better as the season has gone on here with the road courses and the stage points kind of strategy as well. This is a bit of an obscure kind of race as well. A little bit of unknowns coming into this weekend. I think a guy like Reddick can pounce on that strategy. So I feel really confident in him in this race this weekend at Indianapolis, which leads me to my final pick. This is an interesting one, because I initially had AJ Allmendinger written down for this.
Yep.
But I could match you on Joey Logano, and I still think I feel pretty confident coming into this weekend. I have the usages. The thing with Allmendinger and a guy like Cindric as well, since they're both running this weekend, is that they haven't been able to really put the finishes together as much as you'd like them to. They're pretty good on single lap speed. And obviously,
Allmendinger had good finishes at COTA and the Daytona road course. Cindric has kind of been the more disappointing finishes, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah. I don't think Allmendinger is going to be going for stage points. A guy like Logano usually does. So I will go with Joey Logano for my last pick. I was thinking coming into this weekend, I would feel more inclined to use somebody like Cindric or Allmendinger. But when I look at the point situation and look at my usage situation, I feel very comfortable with what I have coming into this weekend, where I don't feel like I need to save a usage. Those are usually usage savers, those two guys, when you look at the road courses, because you know that they're probably going to perform. But when I look at this weekend, I feel like there's some other candidates that could fill that gap that maybe Allmendinger and Cindric could usually supply earlier this season. So I feel good about Joey Logano, not as confident as Watkins Glen, but still solid enough where I feel like, yes, the road course success has been good enough where he's going to be as valuable usage to me. And he's a guy, like we saw last week, is going to stay out there for the stage points no matter what the circumstance is, and try and get that finish at the end of the day, whatever they can manage. And that's usually a top 7-8 finish at the end of the day, given their speed that he usually has and his ability on the road courses. So he's my final entry into my lineup for Indianapolis.
I would have really liked it if you didn't do that and left me Logano as a guy for myself, but It's a good play on your part. I am really scared about the Reddick one. I went Briscoe just because I feel like he's got more top 5 potential. But man, Reddick's going to be there for those stage points. And if a lot of people pit, he's going to be able to gobble those up like he did at Road America, where he ended up being the most valuable guy that weekend with 46 points. So that one does scare me quite a bit. But with this final entry here, I do got to go with a bit of a swing here. And some of the form that I saw last weekend is something that makes me a little more optimistic than I have been at points this season. I thought I'd be using him a hell of a lot more on road courses so far this season. And I kind of have to a little bit of regret, but I am going with William Byron here as my final entry. I'm rocking the 24. We're at the Brickyard.
I knew it.
I knew
he'd go with Byron.
It was good.
Oh my God.
Good at Watkins Glen. Road America had some issues there. But man, he's just got to get those results at some point. I really like starting at the front, which he certainly will be with qualifying. We saw him win the pole at Road America. And I do have the 1 usage left on him. But when I look at Michigan, I've got a lot of guys that I feel good about potentially using. And so I don't mind tossing in both Logano and Byron as 1 usage guys, basically seeing if Briscoe can get some stage points, be good. Because if he does, then I can maybe save another big hitter going into next weekend. But for myself, I feel solid about my lineup. I do like yours a little bit more with some of the reds that you've decided to go, having Kyle Busch at your disposal, putting in Tyler Reddick there. I really like that swing. I'm going for more of that finishing position, hoping for some good runs for some guys, and we'll see how it plays out. But definitely going to be an interesting head-to-head, a bit more differences than I anticipated going into this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, if you had Kyle Busch this weekend, you probably would have played him. So
depending on how many usages I have.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like if you had an extra usage,
if I had 1 usage left,
maybe
I think I would have saved
it
for Michigan.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have 2, obviously, having the 1 usage for these 3 weeks, I felt best about using it at Watkins Glen. I'd probably rank it Watkins Glen, Michigan, and then here at Indy.
Yeah.
But yeah, these are a couple of interesting ones. We got William Byron versus Kyle Busch, and then Briscoe versus Reddick, which is kind of funny how that plays out. But yeah, gonna be a fun one to watch and see. And as per usual, probably gonna be decided by the bonus picks.
Absolutely. But before we get into the bonus picks, Mr. Cushman, we have to get to the honorable mentions and the stay away froms. There's quite a few on this list I feel like could be interesting candidates this weekend. Obviously, the 2 guys that I spoke about earlier there, Austin Cindric and AJ Allmendinger, they could definitely be filler plate pieces for your lineup this weekend. We both decided. I'm surprised that you didn't have one of them in there, but I just kind of went down the road that I think there's more value elsewhere this weekend rather than these 2. And I think it goes a little bit to on top of the point that these guys didn't win the Xfinity Series race last season. If they had, then I feel like maybe I'd be a bit more inclined. They were obviously both in the contention in the final 2 laps of that race, but they did not seal the deal like Chase Briscoe did. So that's a little bit of a pause point for me this weekend for those 2, but they're still probably going to be extremely valuable and good usage situations depending on what you have in your lineup. We both don't have Kyle Larson in our lineups for obvious reasons. We like him for Michigan next weekend for possibly a very, very good 50+ point day, given his success on the 550 package and his success at Michigan in his career. So I think it's pretty self-explanatory. If you have 2, go for it. I don't know what you have 2 usages for. I don't think I would have saved it for the Indianapolis road course, but definitely one for Michigan. I feel comfortable. I think we both feel comfortable, obviously, with that going into next weekend. His teammate, William Byron, of course, in your lineup this weekend, Kyle. Feel really good about him. Just needed that one weekend where I saw him on a road course that he looked good, and Watkins Glen was that. So I do like him just a tad bit more at Michigan next weekend. That's why I kind of have the 1 usage left for him. But he's definitely a good play this weekend.
I will say that I do like him more at Michigan in terms of playing the odds. I think it's more likely he has a bigger day. But with the people that I have at my disposal potentially for Michigan, I felt better about using him as a road course guy here and then having the people I have at my disposal for next week.
No, I like your strategy though. I think it's a good play on your part. Also Alex Bowman, a guy that's been, he had a rough weekend at Watkins Glen. You had him in your lineup there.
He did. Yep.
Didn't quite perform. So at least there's that you had the tough weekend with Bowman at Watkins Glen. I had it at Road America. A little bit different circumstances, but
slightly. Yours much more heartbreaking than mine.
Absolutely. But Alex Bowman has been a solid top 10 candidate on most of the road courses this season. Has had some bad luck. And Watkins Glen, they just didn't quite have the pace. And that was unfortunate for them compared to what their Hendrick teammates had that were all in the top 6 there. So we'll see what happens with Bowman this weekend. I just wanted to toss him in here. I don't think he's going to be at the top of anybody's list when it comes to possible candidates for their lineup for this weekend. But don't be surprised if he gets a top 10 basically at the end of this one. Going over to the JGR camp for this one, I've got 3 guys in my lineup from the JGR camp. The one guy I don't, Denny Hamlin. 1 usage left on the 11 car. I've kind of been sitting on that for a little bit now. He's been pretty solid on the road course this season. Very quiet.
Yeah, he's a consistent point scorer.
But I like him at Michigan or Daytona. Maybe. We'll see.
So just for some context there, Denny Hamlin is the 4th ranked driver in terms of points scored on road courses so far this season. And you might not think about that, but consistently in the top 5, like he grabbed another top 5 at Watkins Glen. This is a guy that's always
talk about
there
him all day, but yes,
in the conversation. He's always there at the end. He gets the points, he gets the finish. And that's why he's still tied for the regular season points lead, even without winning a race this season. And part of that is because of the fine form that he's been on the road courses. And the number 4 guy behind Joey Logano, Chase Elliott, and Kyle Larson, I don't think a lot of people would have expected that or would have anticipated that's how the numbers kind of break down.
That's definitely not his well-known expertise per a road course
underrated
racing.
Road course guy. Not like the
he's not a race winner,
gonna race win all the time stuff, but he's in that next group.
Yeah, exactly. He's in a very select few of drivers that are right there behind the top 4 guys. I'd say. I think that's where you could compartmentalize it. Truex, Elliott, Larson, and Busch. And then you have Hamlin probably right underneath that there with Logano. I think those 2 are very, very much equal when it comes to road courses. But Hamlin, I just like some other options compared to him, considering my 1 usage situation. I believe you have 1 usage left on Hamlin as well. Yeah. So we're going into it. We'll see what happens with Hamlin next weekend or maybe the week after.
I am fascinated for next week because I really do think that we could have the exact same lineup.
Well, I don't think we will because you have 1 more usage on Truex. So I think that we will have a different lineup.
And then you've got the extra or Kyle one. But
yeah, so we won't have the exact same, but it'll be.
But I feel like it might be one of those 5 out of 6.
Very similar strategies, and it'll come down to probably a 5-point weekend. Looking at Kurt Busch here, has been quiet, steady as the Kurt Busch usually is on road courses.
As you mentioned it, he's the number 5 guy in terms of points scored on road courses. So there you go.
He'd be an excellent addition to your lineup this weekend. I just like the momentum that some of these other guys are going for and the strategy some of these other guys are going for. If it wasn't for Reddick's point situation, I'd be looking at somebody like Kurt Busch for that kind of option. But with that being a bubble battle, you got to go for Reddick with the points with Kurt Busch being locked in. The final 3 here. Chase Briscoe, he did make the honorable mentions. I really do like the 14 car swing this weekend. Watkins Glen was very impressive for me. He wasn't spectacular in his Xfinity Series career there at Watkins Glen, but he was very steady. This is a track that he obviously won at last season. So I think that there is a lot to go for him at Indianapolis this weekend. If there could be a shock winner candidate, I'm going with Chase Briscoe this weekend. That's who I'd go with as a shock winner. If they ever came down to it, a late race restart or something like that to try and earn that playoff berth.
If we're going late race restart, I'm going Ross Chastain.
If he's in the position, yeah, maybe. I guess that'd probably be a good swing. And you mentioned Ross Chastain. He is in the honorable mentions as well. You put him in your lineup last weekend. How are you feeling about that decision? Because we haven't really talked about that, but he was steady for you, got some really good stage points there in that second stage.
He didn't get the high end of stage points that I was hoping for. I ended up grudging him, which ended up being the wrong move for Alex Bowman, but didn't really make much of a difference at the end of the day in terms of the head-to-head. But no, he had a nice solid day again. I thought that they would maybe gamble a little bit more in terms of trying to get off the rest of the strategies everybody else, but at the same time there wasn't really an opportunity to do so to a big extent. So For Chastain, there a solid day, but not necessarily to the extent that maybe some people were hoping for. Like he wasn't great in the first stage or anything like that, and I think that's what ended up costing myself using him in the lineup. Like if he had a better first stage and was up there, it was more of like a track position for him at the end of the day, because he did fall back a little bit after being up there in like the top 6, top 7 conversation.
Yeah.
But I do feel pretty decent about them again this weekend. We saw at Road America them have a really, really strong day with the practice and qualifying. I feel like that does help Chastain. And so I do think he could have a really strong day here again. But I think a lot of those points will come down to when the cautions fall, if they do, and what happens with the pit cycle, because those guys like Chastain, maybe not necessarily Chastain as much at this point, but Reddick absolutely will be going for those stage points. If they don't have the opportunity to do so, I think they might be a little bit lackluster, but we'll see how things play out.
Yep, definitely. I said I had 3 left. I kind of made a mistake. It's Austin Cindric. I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but he's going to be an interesting one.
I was going to say, if you had 3 more, we're just covering like 90% of the field in honorable mentions.
That's usually how it goes here. I mean, I feel like I have a decent amount of honorable mentions that just missed the lineups, or if you're in a different usage situation that could be of value to you. But let's get to the stay away froms for this weekend. And it comes for 2 from the team Penske stable. Ryan Blaney and Brad Keselowski make an appearance on this list. I had Keselowski in my lineup last weekend. Oh my God, what a bad race for Keselowski. Every time I looked up at the TV, he was basically spinning out, wiping out his teammate.
His brakes, man. Like, oh my God.
I have no idea. Pole sitter. That's why I don't like the pole sitter. How many times have I told you I don't like the pole sitter? Hence why Kyle Busch at Loudon, Brad Keselowski at Watkins Glen. It does not work out for the pole sitter. So whoever
only problem for you now, though, is we don't know who's sitting on the pole.
That's the problem. So please don't let it be Kyle Busch or Tyler Reddick. So
I wouldn't mind a Kyle Busch pole.
Yeah, shut up. So for Brad Keselowski and Ryan Blaney, I'm grouping him in here. I did have them both technically as honorable mentions last week, and I had Keselowski in my lineup, so they kind of count as both. But I don't know. These guys just have not quite got the road course prowess that some of these other guys have coming into this weekend. And I don't know if you want to interject here, if you disagree with this take, but like, I just think they're not good options really this weekend, I think, at the Indy road course when you look at some other people that are available to us at least. So Blaney would obviously be the closer one to being an honorable mention, but even then he's down on the list for me now. Even though that Roval win was a couple of seasons ago, that was a couple of seasons ago. So it hasn't been quite all, flowers and roses and whatnot, or whatever that saying is, for Ryan Blaney on the road courses of late. Had a decent result at Watkins Glen, but I'm going to hold my stance on that and say that Ryan Blaney is probably not the best candidate here with Brad Keselowski.
No, I completely agree. I think I had that reaction just because of the word prowess. I don't think it's their abilities as road course drivers. I think it's the cars that maybe they have right now. Okay. That was just kind of the reaction. Just because we know Ryan Blaney's a good road course driver. We've seen it from him. We know Brad Keselowski, even though he doesn't have a win on road courses, he's had his moments. And I think it's been like Joey Logano's been the only good Penske car on road courses throughout the season. Cindric's been good at moments, but then we've also seen mechanical failures, issues for them later in races. And that even trickles down to Matt DiBenedetto in the 21 car earlier in the season. They were atrocious on road courses. At Road America and Watkins Glen with Jonathan Hassler in there, they've been a lot better. But as a whole, Penske hasn't been very good on road courses with the exclusion of Joey Logano in that conversation. So once they figure it out, I think Ryan Blaney is an awesome candidate for road courses. But my God, they have not been able to figure it out. Like, let's not forget earlier this season, the first race we technically had, Ryan Blaney was right there at the front when we're talking about the Busch Clash way back. But they just have had no speed whatsoever this season on road courses. And that's a couple of years now that they've kind of struggled a little bit. But Blaney, when you look previous to that, has had some great results. So I don't doubt that he has it in him. It's just kind of the cars haven't been there. So don't really know what's happening. But to your point there, absolutely not plays this week. And I don't care whether you got 10 usages left on them or 1. They're not really in consideration for me this weekend.
Okay. Glad we're in agreement on that. The final 2 for the stay away froms. I had him in here last weekend, kind of proved me wrong to an extent, but I still just don't like him as a road course driver. Kevin Harvick. I don't know. I think you could probably put him in your lineup if you wanted to. I just
The one thing that I'll say to Harvick is that they're stage point racing. And so they're kind of in that same conversation as Reddick, where they need those stage points. And if he has a decent enough car, we can see them getting those kind of decent finishes and decent point stays like we kind of saw at Watkins Glen. So I have him in consideration a little bit more. And in that kind of group was Tyler Reddick versus what you normally would for Harvick. But I agree to a certain extent there.
Yeah. If there's no new winner this weekend, I don't feel anything in jeopardy for the 4-car. Like I don't think.
But they won't know that going into the finish of the second stage.
Fair enough, but he has to qualify well, and he's not quite the greatest qualifier. I think he's been helped on these road courses.
Pretty sure he qualified well at Coda. I don't remember where they started at.
But that was in the rain, though. I mean, I can't equate that. What's
the forecast?
Is it meant to rain this weekend?
I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
I was like, wait, what? Do you know about this? And I don't. But I don't think it's going to be raining in Indiana in August. Maybe. But for Kevin Harvick,
the rain comes on Monday.
Oh, thank God.
There are scattered thunderstorms and 60% chance on Monday. But this weekend, it looks pretty clear unless it comes early. Oh, God. But I don't, even for qualifying, I don't feel like Harvick is going to be quite there up to the pace of some of these other guys when it comes to this weekend. I think that's a safe bet, but I'd have him as more of a consideration than you do.
Okay, fair enough. And then last one, I'm just throwing him in here. Austin Dillon, just not a road course racer. He's in this really tight bubble battle with his teammate, 15 points in it. This is a huge weekend for Tyler Reddick, as I prefaced in my pick. If he gets away with some really good stage points and a top 12 finish, things are looking pretty dire for Austin Dillon in the final 2 races of the season. We're going to see a very aggressive Austin Dillon to try and make that playoff.
Still doesn't have a top 10 in his road course career in the Cup Series.
I don't know what to tell you, man. He just can't quite figure it out, even though he ran the Rolex 24
He's been better
this
year. He's been better this year,
slightly,
to be fair to him. He's worked on his craft. He's done the Xfinity races with a couple of different teams. He did the Rolex 24. Like, he's put work into his craft, and we've seen the better results, but they're still not been good enough in terms of top 10s or anything like that.
Nope. And that'll do it for the honorable mentions and the stay away froms. Mr. Cushman, bonus pick time, and you lead us off.
Yes, I do. Top Chevrolet. This is an interesting one. Because I do think
it's up for debate this weekend.
Well, I think it has been up for debate a little bit. I mentioned Kyle Larson last week as a bit of a toss-up with Chase Elliott here for this one. It is only 5 points. So if you wanted to go kind of against the chalk pick of Chase Elliott and get those extra 5 points, if you got it right, then that's 5 points in your pocket. If you don't have it right, well, then you're only losing 5 points. That's kind of the thought process with it. Yeah. For myself, I am going to go with Chase Elliott for this one. They just had too much speed in that car. The only reason they didn't win is because Chase Elliott screwed up and locked up his brakes, locked up the tires, had to go and pit in extra time and stuff like that. But I think if they have a clean day, even if they do start at the back because of a penalty or anything like that, which would be a very Chase Elliott thing to do this weekend, I still feel very good about them this weekend. So Elliott is going to be my guy as top Chevrolet.
Agreed on that. I'm going to go with Elliott as well. I mean, I think in a perfect world, if I was in a different situation where I didn't want to feel like I have to win 2 weekends in a row here, I'd maybe look at Kyle Larson as an option. But like you said, you made some good points there. Elliott had the fastest car on Sunday at Watkins Glen, just didn't quite have the track position to really do anything with it. He had burned his stuff up by the time he got to second place, and there's only so much he could do to chase down Kyle Larson, who's still a very, very good road course racer in his own right. So,
and it does give me some pause that Larson wasn't in the conversation as much at Road America either.
Yep, definitely. And I do think, just a quick caveat here on Larson, he is running the Knoxville Nationals this weekend, so he will be pulling the double duty. I'm not quite as confident with Larson this weekend as I was at Watkins Glen. So I think that I will say that. But we'll see what happens with Mr. Larson this weekend. He could just go out there and dominate like he did at Watkins Glen, but I feel less confident in him than Watkins Glen here at the Indy Road Course. But for the top 4 finisher, I mean, I hate to do it to the guy, I hate to jinx him once again. I would be very curious to know what the number is every time I pick Joey Logano as the top Ford finisher, what that number would be, how many times he's actually been the top Ford finisher. Because I think it's been probably, you can count him on one hand. I think it's been very, very few. And every time I pick him, he has had some bad luck. And this weekend, there is the exception of maybe having an Austin Cindric in there as the top Ford, or even a Chase Briscoe, like you said. But until I quite see that happening, Logano still won a stage at Watkins Glen on Sunday, had some circumstances go his way, i.e. Brad Keselowski wiping him out. But I'm going to go with Joey Logano still as the top Ford finisher here this weekend. I can't bet against his road course success and the 750 horsepower package success so far this season. So the 22 car goes in there as the top Ford.
Do you know who ended up being the top Ford last time?
At Watkins Glen?
Yeah.
Was it Chase Briscoe? Or no, Kevin Harvick.
It was Kevin Harvick.
Yeah, it was.
Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Yeah.
It's kind of funny how that ended up working out. But for top Ford, I am buying into the Joey Logano curse. So I am going to go with Chase Briscoe for this one for myself. I'm betting on him having that good finish at the home track. No. Won there last time. Fended off some really, really tough opposition in the Xfinity Series last year. They've been in that top 10 conversation at the end of races. I feel like the combination of home track, the success previously, practice qualifying, everything like that. I feel like this is going to be a good weekend for Briscoe. So I've got him as my top Ford here, going a little bit different just because I am starting to believe in the Logano top Ford curse on your. But
behalf. It's legit, right? Like
it's a little bit scary. I'm not going to lie. Like a Brad Keselowski torpedo, like, come on, who would have thought?
Come on. It's a domino right into him and just, brutal luck for Logano. But, you go again here, top Toyota.
I will say that I do wish I was going second for this one because it's a toss-up between Truex and Busch for myself, and I really don't know which way to go, but I am going to go Kyle Busch just to kind of cover a little bit, just because you've got him in the lineup. Truex ended up being the top Toyota last time out, but Truex's lack of success at Road America does give me some pause again this weekend. So I'm going to play Kyle as a little bit of cover in case you do take him, so you don't get like an extra 5 points if he really has a good day. So I'll play him here and feel a little bit safe doing so.
We're talking about practice. Guys. This is Kyle Busch's domain. And when I look at Road America,
yeah, well, the points aren't decided in practice. You see,
the thing I will say though, this is the one road course where it's new this season, and Kyle Busch is not running the Xfinity Series race this weekend. He had run it at the Road America.
I will say, last time we had practice and qualifying, he still wasn't the top Toyota. But
when
Road America?
Oh, who was the top Toyota?
Christopher Bell.
Finished second. That's right. Yeah. Okay.
Just saying.
I do have Kyle Busch written down here, but I do feel like this could be a potential opportunity for me here to go somewhere else, because you did go somewhere else with Joey Logano. You went with Chase Briscoe, obviously. I'm gonna switch it up. I'm gonna switch it up and try and.
He is. Wow.
Yeah. Let's go with something different here this weekend. And
is Ty Dillon in the 96 this weekend?
Yeah. I don't think so. He's not. Okay. No. Damn, I got to figure out who I want to pick instead now. I do think Truex, I don't feel quite as confident with him this weekend.
Denny Hamlin?
You know what? Let's do it. If I'm not going to go with Kyle Busch, let's go Christopher Bell. We'll throw him in there. Top Toyota. I do feel good about this 20 car this weekend. So the pace, I think he probably had a better car than Kyle Busch at Watkins Glen, apart from just being set back.
I don't think that's necessarily a debate, really.
Yeah, probably not. I just think the strategy worked out for him to be ahead of Kyle Busch, but then he showed the pace.
He was probably the number 3 car behind Larson and Elliott.
Probably. If he got past Truex there, I think it would have been a very interesting race from then on to see how much of a battle there would have been between Larson and Bell in the final stages there. But with Christopher Bell, I do like the 20 car this weekend. I've got a funny feeling, but I do think Kyle Busch is going to be right there if it's going to be that case. But I kind of talked myself out of it. I do think having that Xfinity Series race has really helped him in terms of getting up to speed with a new track like this. But I'm going to go with C. Bell. winning manufacturer, pretty self-explanatory for me this weekend, Chevrolet. You want to go with
there's nothing to say. It's Chevrolet and Hendrick for myself as well.
Same.
It's there's nothing really to really talk about with this one. Is just the obvious play on road courses. Elliott and Larson there, in addition to Byron's potential, in addition to Bowman's potential, just not worth going elsewhere. And especially for Chevrolet, you've got Allmendinger in that mix as well. You've got the Chip Ganassi cars as well. It's just, come on, too easy.
Definitely. I'm going to obviously match you on that. It's basically been the story of the season on the road courses. It's been a Hendrick 1-2 basically every time, apart from the Daytona road course. So can't go wrong with that. And obviously Road America as well. But it's just those two right now in the class of their own, it seems, when it comes to road courses. So definitely going to go with those. Larson and the Elliott thing just puts it over the top for me.
Xfinity pick time.
Yeah, I get to go first for the Xfinity series. It's a bit of a weird one for me here.
Well, but usually when we have the truck series, you get to, but
no, not really. Because I go first for the trucks and then I go first for Cup. But I never really go first for the Xfinity series. But I'm gonna stick with the guy that's the hot hand right now, 18-year-old Ty Gibbs. I say he wins this weekend just because Allmendinger and Cindric didn't win it last year in their appearance in the Xfinity Series in this race. Ty Gibbs beat them at Watkins Glen, and that's an unbelievable achievement for that young man to be Allmendinger, a Cup Series winner at that track. Maybe you can put that down to the equipment, but he has proven on a consistent basis this season he is he's a force to be reckoned with on the road courses no matter what. And winning at the Daytona road course, of course, was a big victory for him. Of course, his first victory. So I can't feel like I'm going down a wrong path picking Ty Gibbs this weekend. He may not win, but just in case he does, I'm going to be safe than sorry and pick him.
What I will say on Gibbs and Watkins Glen specifically is that Watkins Glen is the most kind of power / car dependent track that we have in terms of road courses, in terms of it not really being the technical slow portions or anything like that. And Indianapolis is a bit of a hybrid between those because you do have the really long straight and you do have some slower speed, but not like really, really slow corners and stuff like that. So it's not to take away from Ty Gibbs' ability, because I do believe that he's a very, very good driver. I'm not saying anything like that, but I do think that his kind of success over those guys on the Saturday was more so because of the car rather than him being better than Allmendinger or Cindric or anything like that. And I kind of look at the ARCA race as an example of that. The fact that he finished third behind Austin Hill and Corey Haim in that race. And then on the Saturday went out and was clearly kind of the best car on that Saturday. But for myself here for Xfinity, I will look back to last year's race, and I will say that Allmendinger had to start near the back because he wasn't running full time. So he had to come through that. Austin Cindric had some penalties and stuff, so he had to come through the back as well. So maybe not necessarily the Chase Briscoe show that the stats kind of ended up showing, even though he was able to hold them off at the end of the day. But I will go with Austin Cindric for this one, for the Xfinity Series winner pick. I thought about AJ for this one, but I am going to go Cindric. Just Penske, he owns the place now, so he's got to show up here. So I'll take Austin Cindric here, but I do think it's going to be another stellar Xfinity Series race. Last year, the finish was just insane, and we've got more guys like Ty Gibbs here factoring in. We've got Sam Mayer here as well, who's slowly starting to find his form in that Xfinity Series car. So I'm really looking forward to that Saturday because you've got IndyCar, you've got Xfinity, and those two races are going to be absolutely bonkers. I'm looking forward to those ones.
The 54 car has won the 8 of the last 10 Xfinity Series races. Yep. That's insane. Like this, and
Kyle Busch is a factor there, but
yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, Christopher Bell obviously won at New Hampshire, but like, that's still an impressive total for an Xfinity Series on road courses, because Kyle Busch won on road courses as well. It wasn't just on ovals,
and was dominant.
Yeah, absolutely. And beat Cindric and Allmendinger. Like, we thought those guys were going to be absolutely the horses.
The one that I think back to is Coda, and just how insane that car was there.
Yeah, I think a lot of that comes down to the preparation. Chris Gale, I think they're giving them the best of the best right now in that 54 car, which makes sense. You've got Kyle Busch, your Cup Series star, Christopher Bell, your future Cup Series star, and Ty Gibbs, obviously Joe Gibbs' grandson. Like, that's a pretty strong trio in terms of giving them the equipment they need to succeed at the Xfinity level and win and prove what they are capable of doing. So huge weekend here at Indianapolis. But you do lead us off with the Cup Series winner pick here, Mr. Cushman. Who do you got? It's the debate, Larson or Chase Elliott.
Just finally on Ty Gibbs, I will say I'm a little bit disappointed we didn't get to see where he would have finished at Road America in that 81, because I feel like that would have been like an actual like kind of tell as to where he kind of lands, being in that extra one, not being in the 54, stuff like that. But didn't get to see it, but that's okay. So to the Cup Series, and I actually get to pick first for the first time in way too long, if we're being honest. It's kind of been stupid, the run that I went on. The bad luck that you had was insane. Like, I still don't know how you managed to lose in some of the fashions that you did, whether it be disqualifications, flat tires, whatever it may be, you found a way to lose with it. And so here we are going into Indianapolis, and I am going to take Chase Elliott as the race winner here. Just simply put, can't give you the option to take him. He was the fastest car last time out. They kind of beat themselves a little bit. Assuming they don't make those same mistakes again this weekend. We're going to a new place. The last time we went to a new place with practice qualifying, Chase Elliott came all the way from the back to win the race. So Chase Elliott going to be the race winner for myself. And I think it's a little bit of a surprise if he doesn't win it, to be honest, this weekend.
Yeah, I can agree with that statement there. Of course, the one weekend.
And also, I wouldn't have maybe said that it was between Elliott and Larson to the same extent that it was last time.
Okay. Who are you thinking is the other guy? Just out of curiosity.
I don't have a clear-cut number 2, and that's why I'm interested to see where you go. Just because the last, like at Road America, Larson was kind of in that top 5, but wasn't necessarily as good. He was fading a little bit. And so I don't think that he's maybe the necessarily clear-cut number 2 or number 1 candidate like he has been. Watkins Glenn, he has the past experience, all this kind of stuff. So I'm interested to see where you go for this one. I might have still leaned Larson as the number 2 guy just because of the prowess, but let's see where you go.
Yeah, let's see where I go.
You're letting me stall for you this time.
You want to keep going there while I try to figure this out?
I think you should. If you don't make a pick, I think we're gonna have to give you like Bubba Wallace or something.
Yes, Bubba Wallace.
Noted extremely good road course racer.
How about Austin Dillon? Maybe we give that a go. You know, the thing is, like, Larson has been so dominant, like on road courses when he's good. You know, there's been no question. Like, he won at Sonoma 60 freaking points. Like, that was insane to watch what he did there. I did say last weekend, if I was in your position, I would have picked Kyle Busch because I did feel confident in him that much. And he was good, but he wasn't that good where I feel like he could potentially win on the road course. You know what? Let's not go with Larson this weekend. Let's switch it up.
Oh, he's not. Okay.
Let's switch it up.
I still would have stuck with it, even though I don't love him as much as I did at Watkins Glen, but
I'm gonna switch it up. I'm gonna go to the JGR stable for this one. I'm gonna go with the very own Christopher Bell.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Christopher Bell wins this weekend for his second career Cup Series victory. I feel good about the 20 car.
Okay.
Kyle Busch just hasn't quite had the road course winning ability this season. And I think what I saw at Road America there, Christopher Bell had some pretty good speed at the end of that race. Mm-hmm. If it comes down to it, this is a little bit of, you know, a bit of a trickier one for me to call, like the Daytona road course was a little bit. I feel like it's a little bit more up in the air. That turn 1, man, scares me a bit. And somebody's going to send it in there. It's going to take somebody out 100%.
It's going to take a lot of somebodies.
Whether it's on the restart or something else. But I don't know. I've got a funny feeling about this 20 car this week. And I think practice will do Adam Stevens well with the 20 car. And I think there'll be a pretty nice duo. I'm just not quite 100% sold on Kyle Larson this weekend.
So we're taking the first and second place guys from Road America.
Yeah, big swing, hey, yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to go something different. I haven't been able to do that for a while.
I love it.
You could have. I've been kind of stuck in a bubble here where I feel like if I didn't take the race winner pick, I would have been like out to lunch. But I feel like it's just too predictable. I think it's been too easy for the Hendrick cars on the road courses for a little bit now. Maybe they'll spice things up and then go back to the first race winner on the road course this season in Bell. But we have one more category to go here, Kyle. Let's not forget. We do. Who wins the poll for the penultimate time this season?
You go first for this.
What?
Yeah.
Why do I go first?
Because I just went first for the winner pick.
Oh, shoot. I'm so used to going first for the winner. Oh, my God.
No way.
Yeah. I set you up for a big one there, and I just totally flubbed it. Pull William Byron. Move on. Yeah.
Okay. Will he be? Yeah. He's going back to back?
Back to back for the polls. The guy just is so good on single lap speed on road courses. I was thinking about Tyler Reddick, but I'm going to go with William Byron.
Okay. See, originally I was thinking Kyle Larson, but I don't know. I just don't feel like it's going to be the Kyle Larson show as much this weekend. So do I want to stick with that? I think William Byron, is probably the betting favorite. But where do I want to go?
You points up for grab, buddy.
You went Christopher Bell. So I'll go with a bit of a swing as well. I'll say AJ Allmendinger grabs the pole.
I like it.
He qualified third right there at the front at Road America.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to have Xfinity the previous day. Why not? I'll say AJ Allmendinger grabs it in the 16 colleague car.
I like it a lot. Shall we go through our lineups one more time for the listeners and viewers at home? I'll lead us off for this one since I am the defending winner. I usually go second for this one, but I'm going to milk it as long as I can because it may not happen for the rest of the season. This may be my only chance. So my lineup for this Sunday is Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., Christopher Bell, Joey Logano, and Tyler Reddick. For the bonus picks, top Chevrolet, Chase Elliott, top Ford, Joey Logano, top Toyota, Christopher Bell, winning manufacturer Chevrolet, winning organization Hendrick Motorsports. For the Xfinity Series on the Saturday, I'm saying Ty Gibbs brings it home yet again in the 54 car. And then on Sunday, Christopher Bell gets his second career Cup Series victory. But on the poll on the Sunday morning as well, I'm going to say William Byron brings it home for the 24 car for Hendrick Motorsports.
Alrighty, I've got Chase Elliott, Martin Truex Jr., Joey Logano, Christopher Bell as well, going different with Chase Briscoe taking the swing on the Indianapolis with William Byron as well in my lineup. Hoping for that good starting position there.
Please let the jinx work.
For the bonus picks, Chase Elliott, top Chevy, taking the swing as well for Chase Briscoe, thinking about the Logano curse there for top Ford.
You're welcome.
And Kyle Busch for top Toyota, Chevy Hendrick manufacturer organization. Again, obvious picks there. Taking the swing on Austin Cindric on the Saturday with Chase Elliott on the Sunday with AJ Allmendinger grabbing the pole earlier on Sunday as well.
I do like your bonus picks more than mine. So if it does come down to that, and our lineups are very close after the first two stages,
I will say I do hope William Byron grabs that pole award and goes away and gets a stage win off the top. That would be very nice for me, but we all know that's not going to happen.
Well, yeah, hopefully it doesn't happen because I hope I just reverse jinxed it and whatever voodoo.
He grabs the pole, he stays up front, and then he pits with 1 lap to go, and then it's game or 2 laps to go. But
whatever it is, it's going to be a very interesting weekend. NASCAR making its debut on the road course for the Cup Series.
Yep.
At Indianapolis Motor Speedway. To finish off the show, let's just discuss that really quickly, Kyle. The debate, it's been kind of going on social media. Should we have gone to the Oval this year? Should we be going to the road course as we are going this weekend? What are your thoughts on this whole thing this weekend? Do you think that it's definitely a good thing that we're giving this a try, or are you more of a historical kind of or not that we should go back to the bricks and the Oval?
I'd lean towards going to the Oval. I don't hate them making this decision. I think it'll be a fun race. I'm excited to see how it goes, especially with how great the finish was to the Xfinity Series race last year. But I do think the way the schedule has kind of gone, there was almost too many road courses right away for the schedule. And that wasn't helped with Auto Club having to turn into the Daytona road course. But the way that it ended up going, it's a little bit heavy on the regular season in terms of road courses. Just given when you look at the playoffs and how there's 10 races in one road course versus the regular season and how there's 6 or whatever it is. But I will say I'm excited to see how it goes. That said, I would prefer that they do stay on the oval. I think that Indianapolis Motor Speedway is something extremely, extremely special. I think it got too much hate in terms of the Cup Series product because of the lack of attendance. And even though it wasn't like the Indy 500 or anything, it was decent racing. So what I would say is that I would like to see a return to the oval. It was a crown jewel race. It should maintain that status because it is going to one of the most famous places in motorsports. And you're an oval series. You should be going to the oval on one of the most famous ovals in motorsports. So that's what I'll say on that. I'm not heartbroken or anything like that they're going to the road course, but I would prefer that they stay on the oval for a multitude of reasons.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you on that. As per usual, we're thinking very much the same way. This is I feel like maybe a little bit more strongly than you on this with the road course and the oval. I would much prefer to see them on the oval. I think it got a little bit too much hate.
Yeah, the only reason why maybe I'm a little bit softer is just because the Indianapolis road course is so interesting for these cars and stuff like that. So like the alternative is still an interesting alternative. So I'm relatively fine with it. But again, when you factor in the history and everything like that, I would much prefer them be on the oval as well.
Like, I just don't look at this as a crown jewel weekend right now. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't
No, it's absolutely not. No.
Like, there's no significance to this weekend now compared to what the Brickyard 400 used to be.
Realistically, the Brickyard probably shouldn't have been a crown jewel either, just because it wasn't a NASCAR history thing. But you know, I could see why it became that, or why it was deemed that because of how it came into the sport and stuff like that. But like, it's not like this is going away from something that they've been doing since the 50s. This is something that they tried in the 90s. It worked well for a while. They had the tire debacle in the mid 2000s, and they kind of suffered because of that. They're trying some stuff here. But I think long-term, I think a lot of people would prefer them return to the oval, or even go to IRP if they're going to stay in that area, maybe not stay on the oval, and then go to other road courses rather than go to the Indianapolis one.
If I see pictures where they're kissing the bricks, I'm going to be pretty upset because that's
no, you still do it.
No, but it's not the same. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like,
but this is the only time the Cup Series. Like, come on.
It's a road course. Did Briscoe do it
last year?
I don't know if he did. I don't know.
So
if you do, I think it's a bit questionable because it's not the same significance.
Well, what other opportunity would they have to do it? That's the only.
That's their fault for putting the schedule.
It's their fault for not going to open wheel.
It's their fault for not going on the oval, in my opinion, at least. Like, I think winning at the Brickyard, winning on the oval is something should be cherished, and it's a tradition. You should
like
be able
when F1 went there, did they kiss the bricks? I don't know.
I have no idea, but for me, I feel like the oval was a pretty good product. It wasn't perfect, obviously, but I think it did present some opportunities for some good racing at times. And when it was good racing, I think it was pretty spectacular. Just hearing the fans roar, and it's a totally unique oval as well. It's not like it's your cookie cutter oval. It's absolutely 4 unique corners, 4 distinct corners in itself. And one, even though they may look the same from an aerial view, they're run a little bit differently as well. It's a very unique place, and I think it holds a lot of tradition to it. So I would much prefer to see them on the oval, especially with how oversaturated the road courses are this season, in my opinion.
I wouldn't say oversaturated, but
I'd say you don't need. Obviously, the Daytona road course wasn't scheduled, and this one, I think that's 2. I think 5 is a good amount considering we had two or
disagree there.
2 or 3 would be was what we had before, right? So I think that's fine, but I think 5 to 6 ranges is at max for me.
I'd say 7's a good number. You just need to spread them out more. Like, you need 2 in the playoffs. You can't have it where 6 are in the regular season and then only 1 are in the playoffs. You can't have it that way. But
we'll discuss this probably a little bit more, but I would rather have more short tracks than road courses, essentially. I think that'd be the case for you as well. But
the only issue is that you don't have enough good short tracks.
If you bring Iowa on, maybe you could figure something out. I don't know. I mean, that's just obviously just spitballing here, but I do think that there's a place for the Indianapolis Oval on the schedule, and the fact that it's not on there is a bit of a shame, in my opinion. We'll see what happens this weekend. It could be a fantastic race. It may change my opinion to an extent, but I still feel more strongly that the Oval would be a more welcome or addition or a mainstay on the calendar than what the Indianapolis road course is going to be.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay, I think that'll do it for today's episode. Make sure to go follow us on Instagram at The Green Flag Pod, as well as Twitter at The Green Flag Pod. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. We'd really, really appreciate it. It's been a fun couple of months here with the growth on the channel. This is the penultimate episode with myself here back out west in BC. Gonna be flying out to Toronto in a couple of weeks' time. So next week will be the last time you see this setup for at least until the Christmas break. And then
there's
Kyle's
something cruel about the fact that the last time we're gonna get that set up is going into a Michigan race weekend. It's
my least favorite track on the entire
I know,
calendar.
It's too perfect.
It's
too perfect.
So brutal that that's when it's scheduled, but it is what it is. And we'll set it all back up in Toronto as much as I can. And Kyle will be back in his hometown of Strath Vegas next week. So we'll have a little bit of a unique setup for the final 2 weeks. This is the final time.
Yeah,
we'll see both of these setups for at least a long time.
Next week's going to be something because you're going to get the last one for your setup. And then we're going to get a laptop episode from me for the first time in forever back home in Strathroy. So it's going to be a weird setup, but we'll figure it out and we'll make it work for the great race that is Michigan International Speedway.
Yeah, really great freaking Michigan. Oh, Jesus. Oh, okay. Well, that's for next week. We'll discuss.
Let's hope
Michigan.
We have some good news to talk about.
Exactly, and I believe F1 returns next weekend as well. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong on that.
Double check. They return on August the 29th. So I think you're the weekend after that.
2 weeks. Yeah. Oh, perfect. That'll be great. When I come back, I'm going to be setting up like a maniac and we're going to have to do 2 episodes. But nonetheless, it's been a fun one here today, breaking down the Indianapolis road course, a doubleheader weekend for IndyCar and NASCAR for the first time. And it's going to be one heck of a race at the Indianapolis road course this weekend. So make sure you come back to the channel. We'll preview Michigan next weekend as best as we can with the setting circumstances, but enjoy the racing this weekend, everybody.